Hey, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm super excited to have you here today. I just wanted to share a couple of tips about hair loss and like what to expect when it comes time for your hair to come back and if your hair can come back. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. But again, thank you for joining me. This is not going to be a super long live, but I just hope that it helps someone because I know there are a lot of people out here who are struggling with this issue, and you might have a question of like, dang, is this product going to work for me, or can my hair actually come back after I've lost it? So in the meantime, just do me a favor and let me know where you're tuning in from. Again, if you are new to this page or if this is your first time joining, I'm Brandon Green. I'm the founder of Voice of Hair, and we make hair care products that help you love and cherish your hair, but we want your hair to become longer, stronger, and more moisturized. So that's kind of what we do. But I just like to come live to kind of give you some tips and help you to understand what to expect when it comes to your healthy hair journey. So in the meantime, and I'm also in Austin, Texas. So y'all let me know where you're tuning in from and just leave a comment below. And also, we are running like a sale this weekend for Valentine's Day, and we're gonna give early access to people who are on our list, so you can click the link in this post and then you can join that list. But anyway, okay, I see you. Thanks for joining, Jackson. I see Denver, Springfield. So nice to see y'all today. So again, if you're just joining me, what I'm gonna talk about quickly is just a couple of common issues that do cause hair loss, and then whether or not your hair can grow back from those issues. So please like and share this video, because I know that I'm going to also cover the most common form of hair loss and answer the question of like, hey, will this product work for me, or what kind of products can work to restore hair after this? Hey, Isabella from Stockholm, that's super cool. Nice to have you here. So let me go ahead and get started. Let me first say that on average, we are born with, and yeah, please keep letting me know where you're tuning in from. I love to see it. Nice to see you, Marcia. But in general, people are born with 100,000 hairs on our head, and those hairs and those follicles on our head is like the number we get. So there's nothing we can do to like make more follicles grow. And that's kind of a misconception. Like people think, oh, I want my hair to be thicker. You can make the follicle can grow healthy and it give the appearance of thicker hair, but you're not going to get more hair follicles than you were born with. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. But in general, our hair has 3 phases. It's a growth phase, which is the anagen phase. It's a transition phase, which is a phase where your hair is not growing, but it's not falling out. So it's just kind of like stagnant. And then the third phase is actually called the telogen phase. And this is the actual phase where your hair starts to rest or fall out. But the good news is 90% of our hair at any point in time is in the growth phase. So that's why, normally you're not seeing big patches of your hair come out, because you only have certain follicles. About 5% of your follicles might be in the falling out phase. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. But let's talk about hair loss. There are so many different types of hair loss. And I know if you are new to us, so we have a hair elixir. It really helps to, strengthen hair. People use it for hair growth and all those kind of things. And I would say the number one question I get is this product going to work for me? I have this hair loss issue. But what I want to talk to you today about is it really depends on the type of hair loss you have. So let's talk about some of those different types of hair loss. And if you are joining us, let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd just love to know where y'all are. So one of the most common types of hair loss, well, this one is not as common, but a very common one is scalp psoriasis. So if you have scalp psoriasis, you probably have really itchy, dry patches all over your scalp, and it causes scabbing. And what the problem with that is, when you have scalp psoriasis, like it just causes these plaques on your scalp and sometimes even on your forehead, and the hair can't grow through there. So if your hair was growing and you developed psoriasis, it would come out. The difficult thing, Lawrence, yes, psoriasis scalp psoriasis is something that can affect all textures, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Latino, Asian, it doesn't matter. So that is a type of hair issue that can cause hair loss. And with that kind of issue, treatment often includes like medicated lotions, sometimes topical steroids, foams, and even injections. And sometimes people can keep it at bay if they do those things. But this is one of those kind of conditions, like if you are seeing those scaling patches, you first need to understand if that's what it is, and then go to your dermatologist or doctor and get a proper diagnosis, because sometimes like an oil alone may not be enough to help, stop that issue. It might be something further. Now, seborrheic dermatitis, sometimes, which can, cause flaking and dandruff, that's different. That's not what we're talking about here. That's like, an issue that is caused from buildup and too much production of yeast on your scalp. So that's different, but I'm talking about scalp psoriasis. So that's one of the ones that can cause hair loss. But what I would say for that one is talk to your doctor, get a proper diagnosis, and you probably need some stronger medicated solutions for that issue. Okay, the second one, and this one is the most common that I feel like I see amongst our customers, is pattern baldness. Now, pattern baldness affects both men and women, and it looks different though for both of us. So like pattern baldness, or it's also called androgenetic alopecia, which it's, a condition where over time that hair follicle, where your hair is starting to grow, it starts to shrivel up and it dies. So, I look at some of the men, my own husband, I look at people in my family, and I know that sometimes people, they'll start getting like those little thin spots, and it's often hereditary. And usually you will see it like, in your genetic line. But for women, what it looks like, women, when we start to have female pattern baldness, it often starts like at the part line, and you will notice like your part starting to get wider and wider, and also your hairline often starts to recede. But it happens for most women like around the time of menopause, and then it can continue on after that, because when we start to go through menopause, we don't make as much estrogen, and then that's what is starting, that's how it affects our hair. But for men, what it looks like is it often starts like in the front, and then it kind of just starts to recede. So one of the most devastating things about pattern baldness or androgenetic alopecia is that once it starts, there is no bringing that hair back. Like I said, it literally causes that hair follicle to shrivel and die. And this is what I wanted to share in this live, and make sure that people understand is it's so important for you to understand, if you do have hair loss, know what's causing it, because if you have pattern baldness, the areas where you have lost the hair will not grow back. Even if you use products that, people claim, oh, they can grow hair from alopecia, it can't cause hair to grow from a dead follicle. But you can do things to slow down pattern baldness and androgenetic alopecia. So let's talk a little bit about what those solutions look like. So for one, if you or someone is experiencing pattern baldness, the first thing you want to do is try to get early intervention, because there are medications that are FDA approved, like minoxidil or finasteride, which is made from Propecia. Those are medications that can actually slow down the thinning process. Hey, Angel, thanks for joining us. But one thing to note, when you use those kind of medications, if you stop using the medications, your hair is going to come out along with it, because the process of the androgenetic alopecia has already started. So if you notice like your hair is starting to recede, like try to go, see your doctor, get intervention right away. Another thing, now this may not work for everybody. There are some oils naturally, such as like rosemary oil. I talk about this one a lot because I think it's really fascinating. And this is an oil that we actually have in our elixir. When they did a study with patients who had this pattern baldness, and they used minoxidil, and they also used rosemary oil, they found that the rosemary oil was very effective in slowing down that hair fall process. And they also found that it was like a similar benefit, because you can help to stimulate blood flow to the follicle and help that hair to grow in stronger. Because one of the issues with pattern baldness is that once the hair starts to grow, even if the hair is already in the growth phase, it's going to start growing in thin. So that hair is often like super fragile. It grows in thinning. And that's why, like, for women, it's not as drastic for men. As we see in men, because the hair over time, it starts to grow in thinner and thinner before, we start to lose it in those areas. So, I'm not saying that it really depends on what. So Landia, what I'm trying to say about alopecia is it depends on the type of alopecia. Androgenetic or female pattern baldness is one type of alopecia. And if you have already lost like your hair due to female pattern baldness in that area, that hair is not going to grow back. But you can slow down the hair fall process with the other hair you do have by using products like, you can use minoxidil and Rogaine and finasteride, and you also can use like essential oils and massage those areas, but just realize that it's not going to bring back hair that's already gone. I hope that helps to clarify. I know that like is not always the the sexiest answer, but I just want to make sure you understand, because sometimes people are out here trying to claim something that really is just not scientifically possible, and I don't want people to have a bad experience or get ripped off by people who are not telling the truth, essentially. So also, before I forget, if you just joined or you joined late, we do have a link. Make sure you sign up, put your info in so you can just stay up to date when we do have special offers and do special events for our customers. So that link is in my bio. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. If not, let me know and I'll come back to it. But so that's the second and most common type of hair loss. Another type of hair loss that is super common, and this one, it depends, your hair may be able to grow back, is hormonal changes. So, like a lot of times our hormones can affect, how much of our hair is growing at a time. One of those changes obviously happens to be, when women go through childbirth, postpartum. Hair loss is something that starts 4 to 5 months after the baby is born. And then that hair, you might see almost like up to 70% of your hair kind of like go into this shedding or that resting phase. And so it can be super dramatic because it's like a big change. But the good thing is, a lot of times with hormonal changes, once your hormones get back to a healthy level, that hair can start to grow back. For postpartum loss, it takes sometimes up to a year or your baby's first birthday before that hair grows back. But like other hormonal issues, it might take a couple months for your body to be able to properly have the right hormone levels to produce your hair to start growing it back. So the good thing is, if your hair loss is due to hormonal issues, it can often come back. A third or fourth type of hair loss issue that people see is due to thyroid problems. Thyroid problems are very, very, common, especially like amongst Black women. And those kind of issues, they can actually cause too much or too little of your thyroid hormone, and it can lead to hair loss. But the good thing is hair will typically grow back once your thyroid is treated. So that's a good thing if your hair loss is due to thyroid conditions. And then, like I would say, the last type of issue that hair loss they can kind of bring on this type of hair loss is nutritional deficiency. So we do talk about this a lot, but it's super important. Vitamin D is like one of the number one reasons why a lot of people experience alopecia areata, which, it's like when your body starts to have, they'll notice like patchy baldness, and it can show up anywhere on your body, but for the hair, that's what people notice. And alopecia areata is really like an autoimmune issue where your own, body is attacking those cells, and that's causing like hair losses. But again, with alopecia areata, it's usually like small patches that people have like throughout. It's not usually, like all your hair coming out at once. So sometimes steroid shots work for people when they have that condition. Sometimes like a dermatologist might prescribe other topicals. I do have some customers who have used, elixir with, scalp massages and saw improvement in that way. So that's another way. And I would say the last type of hair loss that I didn't put in my notes, but I think it's important to know is telogen effluvium. So this is like more of like a temporary hair loss, because like I said before, telogen is that resting phase of our hair growth, or it's the phase where your hair comes out. When you experience like a shock to your body, you actually can cause your hair to go and start to fall out. So in that, the thing about that kind of hair loss is you don't see the hair loss for 2 months after your hair's, the event has happened. So if you're wondering like, well, what kind of events could cause your hair to fall out? Well, it could be the loss of a loved one. It could be like a surgery, or like, something really invasive to your body. I've heard of people having like accidents, and then like months later their hair started to come out. So like those kind of things, when you have serious conditions that affect your body, you can experience kind of like a shock, and then it can cause your hair to fall out. But the good thing about that one, like I said, is your hair will start to come back. Sometimes it can take, up to 2 months, but you could see a lot of your hair come out at one time. And that's when, you definitely want to be eating and getting all your right nutrients, massaging your scalp, taking care of your body from the inside out is really important with that kind of hair loss. Oh, I missed. Oh yes, and you are absolutely right. Losing your hair, a lot of people have been losing their hair due to COVID, and that's exactly what is happening, because it's telogen effluvium. It's kind of, like that shock. Their body got really sick, everything shut down, and so then their hair wasn't, your body is so smart, and it's like, hey, I need to survive. So it's gonna devote all those resources to making sure that your body gets healthy, and it's not, and your hair is kind of like a last priority. So if you are just joining, I will be sending out some replay notes later. You can join our list, and I have that linked in the bio, but I'll just kind of review the types of hair loss that I talked about and whether or not they're permanent. So like the first one we talked about was scalp psoriasis. That one kind of depends on the severity of your situation. So you definitely want to see your doctor and figure out, what is recommended, because it's a very tricky situation to deal with. The second one we talked about was pattern baldness. This one is the most common. In fact, 30 million women in the US experience, female pattern baldness, and it happens a lot of time around menopause. Your hair that has been lost due to pattern baldness will not grow back, because that follicle shrivels and dies, but you can slow down the rest of your hair from, coming out. And that's why early intervention and detection is so important. If you start noticing something, take advantage, start, getting the treatment, start massaging those areas, helping that blood flow get circulated so that hair doesn't, continue to come out. So that was the second one we talked about. The third one that we discussed was hormonal changes. So for example, having a baby, or even hormonal changes that you go through, during menopause and afterwards, those can affect your hair growth journey. And then number 4 was thyroid issues. This is super common, especially amongst Black women, but good news for thyroid issues is once your thyroid gets to a healthy level, your hair can start to grow back. And then the other one that we talked about was nutritional deficiencies. Vitamin D is super important to making sure you can make healthy hair. Iron is one that I didn't mention, but it's critical because it brings it brings oxygen and nutrients to the follicles. So if you are deficient in those things, your hair is not going to be healthy. So that's, another vitamin that your body really needs. If you don't do a good job eating right, you need to be taking a hair vitamin. We have hair vitamins for that reason, because sometimes, it's just difficult to eat the right things. And then the last one we talked about was the telogen effluvium, which is that shock. It can come from being sick, having a sickness or illness, having surgery, the loss of a loved one, or just extreme stress in your life. And you'll notice that the hair will start coming out 2 months after the event. So that's not permanent, and your hair will come back after the fact, but these are just things that you want to know so that when you look for solutions to grow your hair back, you understand like what's possible, what's the possibility. So I hope that's helpful. If y'all have any other questions, just go ahead and make sure that you drop them below, and I'll try to come back to this live and answer them. But thank you for joining me, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and happy Valentine's Day. We are going to be doing a sale this weekend, so make sure that you sign up for that list so that you don't miss out, okay? And be blessed. Bye-bye.